Hello, everybody. Welcome to season 2 of the Player Development Pod. Once again, in season 2, we want to highlight those who are doing the work. I am so excited to start this season off with Mr. Lamonte Winston, who has created the foundation for a lot of the work that I've done, the work that's being done in the NFL and other sports. So I'm excited to start this season off with Mr. Lamonte Winston. Mr. Winston, great to have you here. If you don't mind, telling us about yourself. I'm geeked up. I'm excited. Every time I've talked to you, I'm learning from you. I was so excited that you reached out to me and other directors of player development and engagement, and you just poured so much into us. I mean, I got notes on notes on like, man, I didn't even think about that. So if you can introduce yourself and tell the guests here, a lot of these people are interested in player development. We got player development professionals who listen, college students, coaches who are thinking about creating positions, athletic directors who are thinking about supporting coaches. So if you can, introduce yourself, we would love to have it and happy to have you here.
Well, Ed, thank you very much for allowing me to be a guest on your show. You are, have always been, since our time of knowing each other, a great young professional who's really committed to the work. And for me, anytime you get a chance to talk player development, player engagement, student athlete development, they got a lot of names now. But the work is still the same. Anytime you get a chance to talk about that with like-minded people, man, it's a great opportunity. Like I said, when we did our podcast with the Player Development Roundtable, we had some other player development directors at other various schools, and just got a chance. I just wanted to create an opportunity for people just to talk, because as I mentioned back then, this is the one area when you're in this space that you can't really talk to other people about the people that you work with.
Correct.
On one hand, you can when you're doing professional development, some of that kind of stuff, but the real nitty-gritty stuff that I'm sure we'll get into during this podcast is, you walk around with a lot of secrets.
Yes,
on a daily basis. So again, anytime you get an opportunity to come on and be in this type of environment and be able to share and maybe just give a little bit of my experience to help those who are doing this thing is always an honor.
Awesome. So, I know a little bit about your background. I know you coach for a while at the collegiate level, I believe also professional level. If you can kind of talk to us about how you got in that role and kind of how this role created, because you're one of the pioneers, yourself and your brother, y'all are the pioneers of this. And, I'm excited. Like I'm a big history person. I like biographies and stuff. So I'm excited to hear, I know our calls you've given us, wisdom, but I'm excited to hear how it all started and, where you saw this could go.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. I will answer that question with this, and then I'll give you some context. This found me. I wasn't looking for this. Okay. As you mentioned, I had came to out of a coaching background of football, and I was a coach for 12 years at all levels: high school, JUCO, Division II, 1AA, Division I. So I was on a football coach's path, and then I always liked the evaluation process, watching tape, evaluating players. So I got an opportunity to join the Kansas City Chiefs in 1993 as a administrative assistant at 31 years old, which was kind of a risk, man. It was a big risk going from an assistant football coach to an administrative assistant at that age. Okay, my wife, who we've been dating, so she's a lawyer and she's was doing really well, and she believed, and she packed up and moved to Kansas City. So we started in Kansas City at player personnel, which really was great because I'd always worked with players. And when you're an assistant coach, you're always, you're never not working with them on something, because they're young people and they have challenges every single day. So I had been doing the admin thing in player personnel for about 2 years. On my second year, I got a message from one of our executives that said, "Hey, Lamont, I want you to look at this VHS tape." So you listeners, you guys know the VHS tape is?
Yes, yes.
Big block thing, right? So he asked me, he said, hey, I want you to look at this, something the league is trying to do. And, he said, hey, but if it takes more than 12% of your time, it's not worth doing. So I said, sure. So I looked at the video, and it was a 12-minute video. It's called Play. This started, the original name for this space was Player Programs. Okay. So that it was Player Programs. So I watched the video, and I'm like, wow, this is like tremendous. So I kind of showed my boss, and he had been from the 49ers. So and Bill Walsh. So Bill Walsh was really a progressive person. So he kind of understood what it could be. And I was asked to go down to Dallas to this symposium, and they really had Player Programs as a brochure that the league wrote. It was a 4-sided brochure, 4 pillars that they were talking about. And the crazy part is, anybody in the organization, whoever the department head was, could task it to anybody.
Right.
My first meeting, there were grounds crew people.
Oh wow.
There. I mean, it was really, man. There was development people. There's all, and they're supposed to help the players, right? None of these people ever are in the players' ecosystem.
Right.
And so I went down to this symposium, heard a lot of great stuff. Boss came down for the last day, kind of surprised me, and he kind of heard it, and he was so taken. He was like, you know what? I don't know much about it. This is what I do know, that we're going to support you. You're going to run it. You're going to run it, and we're going to support you. So we come back to Kansas City, and it started, and the league had started player programs in 91, 92, and by Dr. Lynn Burnham, who's a former player and a psychologist with the Eagles. But it was a brochure. And so I came back and really had no there was no direction. So how do you do this? The good thing, I was in-house. So, it was going to the locker room, going to a veteran locker room, and dude's looking at you like you got 9 heads, like, who's this guy in here? What does he want? You got our head coach at the time, Marty Schottenheimer, great man, who became a real advocate for player programs and development as this thing evolved. But coaches, you're talking about the infamous time, right?
Oh yeah.
Why are you talking to my players? And we don't have time for this. They're not here to get a job. They're not. I mean, I heard all of it, and so it began. And so I think I started with, toughest part of it was the players. So the veterans, man, I would put stuff on lockers. I could come down 5 minutes later and be in the trash.
Wow.
Right. Some dudes would just like drop it right in front of your face. Just how athletes can be. Right. But because I had a coaching background, I got it. I'm like, okay, so this is how we're gonna play the game. So what I decided to do was put all of my attention towards the rookies, every single one of them. And I did stuff that they didn't even ask me to do. I was just showering them with attention. Well, I knew it got some of the veterans, the locker room leader guys, and it got competitive. Then why ain't you doing this for us? And it was just how,
Oh yeah.
Just do it out there, right? So anyway, man, that's kind of where it started. Putting notes, my little notes at the time, what people weren't texting and all that stuff. So I had the little, the notepad, I would write notes, fold them in half, put a little piece of tape on it. Right. Boom. I knew that if I put the tape on it, and if I came down when the players were in meetings, if the tape was broke, he read the note.
Right.
Right. And so it allowed me to communicate without having to communicate.
I like that.
Right. By the end of the day, if it's still there and unlooked at, I'm like, hey, so-and-so, hey, I walk by him, hey, left you a note, you need to take a look at that. Right. Knowing that he's seen it. And sometimes may not, right?
Right.
Lockers are sloppy. So anyway, it started working, man. And, back then, like nobody was helping the players with anything. So whatever you had going on, you came to work with. Man. Right? And so it was guys, and this was initially, cell phones, and the guys, they had, 2 cell phones, and if you were really a big player, you had like 2, 3 cell phones. But it was like that you could just walk around and see all the stuff that's undone, that's in the way of them coming to work doing their job.
Right.
And so when as seeing that, I started communicating that to my boss. I started communicating that. It caught the coach's ear, because now you're interfering with, okay, why are, now they're not performing well, coach, because they got these things are happening. You can't tell them what it is. And I had to be strong on that. Mm-hmm. Confidentiality is invaluable. It's the bedstone, the bedrock of this thing. But they started to see me, man. They started to see me be consistent every day. I show up there, I come down the locker room every day. They knew 3 or 4 times. They knew clockwork. Lamont's gonna come through here. And then it started saying, Lamont, how that? Oh, hey, Lamont. Oh, right. I had literally a notepad, and I would just say, okay, hey, okay, you got this. And whatever they asked me to do, by the time they got in from practice, it was done.
Right.
Right? Because integrity is big. Right. You got to do what you say you're going to do. Yeah. And so it just evolved. Mm-hmm. And then, you've been in this space, man, and at a high level, once these young men start seeing you there and you're not backing down from whatever issues they have, they begin to trust, man. Mm-hmm. And they begin to, they'll ask you certain things. They are just talking to be talking. They're just trying to feel you out. Oh, yeah. Right? Oh, yeah. Right. And so, but again, having a coaching background helped me tremendously with that. And it also helped me with really, how to talk to coaches. Right. So that's kind of where it started, man. And then, in 90 was player programs, and then about 95, 96, man, I was like, this is not about programs, because coaches still didn't want to hear about programs. Right. They didn't care about you going back to school.
This program sounds like time.
Time. And it's a distraction. Like that, right. Your second career development, internships, like I'm not paying you to do an internship. So it was that kind of thing. But right. So I was like, okay, and I was communicating this back and forth with the leagues, like, you know what? And there were player programs. I'm like, well, I see it as more player development. Mm-hmm. And so I started calling it player development for the Kansas City Chiefs. And my boss and them were good with it, right? And then the league was kind of, but I guess, and again, you in the league, you back in those days, it's a lot more uniform now, but you kind of did what you need to do for your club. And it's kind of like that to a certain degree, because none of these teams operate the same, right? But it became more player development, which at the end of the day, the league ended up adopting the whole league. Now they went from player programs to player development. And because they had good reason why. Right. This should be about development of a player, a person, not a program. Program is just a byproduct of
the development.
Yeah. Right. That's just kind of a part of it. So we did that, and this thing began to take off. It began to grow the league. We all got on the same page. The league got it, man. Like we were going at it. We had the rookie symposium back in those days, and that was tremendous to a certain degree. It was awesome. But what was happening there is you took drafted players. Undrafted players didn't go. Then the undrafted players, you'd have about 4 or 5 of them dudes make your team. Right. They don't have no information. Right. They're behind the 8 ball. So the league eventually did away with that. Troy came in and decided that, hey, we're going to decentralize this thing and put it on the clubs. And so that model has worked out great, because it was now includes everybody.
Right. And for our listeners that may not be familiar with it, correct me if I'm wrong, when you show up, you're going to have more undrafted rookies than you do drafted rookies, correct?
100%. Because you're going to have, let's just say you have a full bevy of 8 draft picks, right? Those teams right now have probably anywhere from 26 to 28 rookies. Wow. So you're going to have your draft picks, it's triple. And all the rest of them are college free agents. Right. Right. And some of those guys, will make your ball club. And so we started out as player programs. Mm-hmm. Then we morphed into player development, and then Troy rebranded it and looked at the whole experience. Troy Vincent, who's the executive vice president for football operations at the NFL, did a fantastic job of looking at it as player engagement. Let's engage our players first. Let's start with that. And so there was a rebrand and a real concerted effort, man, to really bolster all the programming that's available and support, but not only for the players, but I pushed early on, me and a few others pushed early on through the player development days, and even mine in the early days, you have to include the wives and significant others in the process, right?
If you could talk about that, I think that's the thing that I've learned the most kind of in doing research. And, at the college level, you're developing, the young man, because the family goes away. They drop them off and they go away. If you could talk about at the NFL, the family's there. If you can talk about the development, and I know if you can go back thinking about some of the things you took on your notepad, you're probably talking about, where to live, daycares, work for what. Like, if you can kind of talk about the extended development of the family of the NFL player, I would love to hear more about that.
Well, again, with the NFL, it's almost like college. I mean, they get dropped off. They get on a plane. Some guys, are in a car, right? It's cheaper. The player will make more money if he drives from Dallas to Kansas City than getting on an airplane. So a player be like, hey man, I can make a couple extra $100. I'm getting in my car and I'm driving.
Let me get that mileage real quick.
Yeah. But so they end up coming to your place. And again, when you go to college, same thing. Some of those young men have kids, their fathers already. Some of them have health challenged parents or a single parent or a grandmother, or but you're unplugged from your environment really fast.
Right.
And then you're thrust into an environment of college, it's school, it's these people, it's the expectations of football, it's all these different things. Everybody wants it now, right? And you're still 18 trying to figure out, how to just do the right things right in the morning, let alone And so for the NFL player, it's kind of the same exact thing. There's you get the call, you go, and you have to leave like right now. So whatever's happening at home, it's home. You're gonna go. They're gonna put you up in temporary housing for a minute. If they like you, okay, then you'll kind of. No players get apartments, and like right now, the only ones getting apartments are the drafted rookies,
right?
And probably the only first through 4 rounds,
right?
5th rounders, like, hey man, I'm not doing that. Right?
I'm not touching it.
Yeah, because I may mess around and get cut. You got a lease, right?
Right.
Then you got to go to some other city, and you got a lease in one city. So a lot of guys, man, are posting up in extended stay places, corporate housing, doing that kind of thing. But again, they're in a place of unknown. They're their first real job. When you get there in the morning and you're hitting the lifting, the training room. I mean, they got you moving, and you eating, you're in meetings, and it is literally a fire hose down your throat in terms of how they push the information. And it's kind of done like that for a reason, because everything is fast. And so by the time you come up for air, you're hitting your foot, looking at your phone. I've watched guys walk down the hall, rookies like this, 2 phones, because one is the core family phone,
right?
And the other one is the fringe phone,
right?
And everybody got problems,
right?
Everybody got money problems, and you're the answer. So it's right now, from a player development standpoint, our role was to slow it down. Like, hey guys, this is what we do. We were part of, most clubs are. I was always part of the draft process because I was a scout for a number of years. So, I understood kind of, I was like, hey guys, I'm the one that slows it down. We're going to talk about housing. We're going to talk about family. We're going to talk about all these things that we know that are weighing on you. We're going to help you figure it out, right? And so And so we had time, got carved out time for that. So, yeah, man, it's again, much like college, man, like it's so, because there's so many demands on you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, and in the NFL, you can have a job one day and literally by the time you come in after lunch, somebody's gone. They didn't grab you. And you know what? In your lock, you go to the equipment room, the training locker room, they're already put up and taking your name off. Right? I've had a ton of tears, I've had a ton of heartbreak, I've had a ton of, guys, the girlfriend issues, because the girlfriend really don't understand this thing, and they start reading information about what happens, and your man is gone in the NFL. It's all these things happen, and it's being poured up on a player at the NFL level, right? And then on top of that, you're walking in that room, man, with people that have been doing that job for 10 years,
right?
Like and on their third contract, right? And they're not, and you may be, how you do what you do and how you assimilate is going to affect how they make their bread.
It's funny you say that. I had an opportunity at the University of Houston. Vince Wilfork's son was playing for us, and nobody ever went up and talked to him because you've seen him before. He's a big man.
Yeah,
big man. And so I went up to him and I said, "Hey, I have a question." I said, "You've played nose tackle and you had one major injury in your entire career. What did you do?" He kind of laughed and he told me a story. He said his rookie year, here he is in Miami, and he goes to New England. So he's from Miami. So he's used to, nightlife, Miami and all that. And he says he comes into a meeting with the vets and something happened. I don't know what it was, but he said a vet got up and said, "Hey, Rook, you got one more time. Because what you doing is playing with my money." And I said, "What'd you do?" He said, "I changed everything." He said, "I changed everything I did." He said, "I started going to sleep early. I started and so I just heard you say that. So it just reminded me of that story that, Vince Wilfork told me about.
Yeah, but that's the truth. And so if you take Vince, that story, and then you look at those vets in the locker room, and if you were in a place like New England, all these locker rooms are built the same. Some are veteran run, some are they're all shaped and they're all set up differently. But you got coaches who do this if you thought college coaches did it, these dudes do it every day. There is no 20-hour rule, right? And with technology, they got you going home with iPads, you got video. You're expected to learn fast. Right. One of the things that maybe listeners didn't know this, but a lot of times when the NFL, they pour in plays, defensive things like that, right? And they'll tell you, we may not use that until week 10. So your recall has to be impeccable, because you're going to practice something for a few times. The next time you see it, you might see it the week of that particular game. And then they may or may not use it, but you got to be ready for it if they use that play.
Right.
So your recall has to be phenomenal. Right. And so I would tie that into guys. If you drinking and you drugging and you burn the candle at both ends, it's going to catch you now.
Yeah.
Right. It's so and that mental part that your brain can only do so much. Right. And so, yeah, man, it's a real intense process. And that's why this role of player development is so critical, because these youngsters are walking in, these young men, they've gotten a taste of it. You were at a Power 5 school, it was constant. You're coming in as a freshman, a 5-star. That's automatically supposed to equate to, by the time you leave as a junior, you're going to be a first-round draft pick. Right. So what you understand, these guys understand, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, not like millions, like billions. And they can afford you. They can afford you on the roster, and they can afford you when they cut you off the roster. Right. And they can afford to bring somebody else in. So I've always just been one of teaching them the business side of football, because they kind of, you don't really get in college because everybody's like loving you up, boosters.
Yeah.
And no, this is 32 families own 32 companies, period, in the world. And they have a draft every single year. They have free agency every single year, right? They have injury. They have some guys who are extreme talent are not in this league, will not be in the NFL for 2022, not because they can't play, is that they won't play. They don't want to understand the business of football.
Right.
No one, and that, now, last time I checked, listeners, you guys can call in, make sure you talk to Ed, because I don't know one player that's played forever.
Right.
Right. I don't know one player that held a team hostage.
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't. And I think some players have gotten in their own way. Then you get those players who just, as we would say back in the day, my mom would say, I just don't believe fat meat is greasy, right? They're gonna try it. They're gonna take where they're from, give them a little money and a little bit of attention. They're going to take where they're from and bring it to the National Football League. One of the things that I've always told our rookies, man, they first thing in my meeting was, hey, expect change. Expect change.
Right.
So for all of you guys who don't sit here and say, man, I ain't never changing, or I ain't told my friends I'm not going to change, and I'm not going to, no, you have changed. You will change.
Right.
Okay, or they will change your address. That's the reality of it, right? And so you have to expect change. And the only way to expect change, man, is to understand what is causing the change. And so, like I said, I'm big on, and I think for all you, aspiring player development directors, is think about that, the business of football, right? And when you're talking about the business at any other business, that's why they have human resource departments. That's why they have vice president of people and culture.
Right.
Because the people are important. Right. And so, but it's an exciting field, and there's plenty of challenges. It's been my life's work. Wouldn't trade a day of it. I wanted to play in the National Football League like everybody else, but I wasn't dreaming with my eyes open. Because if I was, I took my thing to class, I'd have been a better student, right? But I think what the good Lord did for me, though, is say, Lamont, okay, I'm not giving you what you want as a player. I'm really not giving you what you want as a coach, but I'm going to give you a 25-year career in the National Football League.
Which is longer than what anybody's ever played.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
Right. And to be a meaningful part of something, that's so meaningful that it's really truly transformed the lives of players and their families in this game, and it's helped them, I think, really appreciate where they are right now. But more, and not so much as a player, but it's as a person, man. To talk about mental health the way that these young men are talking about that this day and age.
Right.
They weren't doing that.
No.
Right. And I've been in this thing long enough where, at the forefront of it. I mean, this was needed. I mean, can you imagine if young men 10 years ago or 8 years ago had really embraced mental health?
Right.
How many more of these young men would still be playing?
Right.
And thriving? How many more families would be together?
Right. Because
they understood the process, right? Because if you get a young man in this mental health space, so comes his family, and there becomes the healing, right? So, yeah, it's been phenomenal.
It's interesting you say those young men 10 years ago, because those young men have been the coaches that I work with on the opposite end, a lot of them. And they're saying it now, like, man, I wish I would have. Now I understand what I was going through and how this helped. So when I, my last, really honestly, last 3 years, because it's kind of picked up in player development, I've been able to walk into coaches' offices and say, hey, this is what's going on. Of course, like you said, confidentiality, I can't say everything, but he has an issue that we may not understand, and sometimes, I've learned in this role that, the mental health could also be performance health. Like,
Sure.
hey, that now the lights are on, you got to play. And this person is just the anxiety or performance, whatever it may be. So it's interesting you say that, because those players that you had, and I haven't worked with all NFL players, but I have had the
Sure.
opportunity to work with guys who played in NFL. They're coaches now, and now they're starting to, as the players, it's kind of cool to see it in college, as the players are starting to not necessarily deal with it, but open up and explore and develop themselves mentally. You're starting to see coaches do it. Like, man, I just, it's been ball for, how it is, 20, 30 something years. And that's all you think is this. And you're not allowed a time to step back. And like you said, the healing, and you got to start to see coaches that played in the league leaving the office. Like, hey, we're done. I'm going home. I'm going to spend time with my kids, or I'm going to get out. I'm going to read, or, we go on a road. They'll leave, go for walks, and just take care of themselves. So it's interesting to see that impact in football.
Well, again, and you're right. Those guys that are now coaches, when your players only see one level of pressure, and that's game day, right? They really don't pay attention to it during the week. Actually, the only time they feel pressure is like when somebody gets hurt.
Yes.
No, they take out the rotation. Now they're like, uh-oh. Now they're looking right. They feel it, right?
Right.
But other than that, they don't feel it, and so they don't see what these coaches feel. They don't understand that every game you don't win, there's gonna be a certain time. When Halloween comes, they got the Halloween commercials, and Thanksgiving they got they go right to Christmas. Right about that time in the media, they're talking about you getting ready to get fired. You on the hot seat. You're going to be that. Right. People got to go home. The coach got to go home, and now everybody's asking them, right? You getting fired? 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 Right? And so they don't see it. But now that they're coaches now, right? Now they see it.
They understand.
Yeah. And if you don't get X recruit, right, and X recruit goes to Texas, or if you're Alabama, and then they go to some Auburn, and it's this constant pressure, and everything is designed to take you away from, like you said, your family. So some of these coaches, man, have figured out that, me working 2 more hours, 3 more hours, if you're gonna play Alabama, ain't gonna help me beat Alabama.
No.
Like that's not, you know what I mean? So it's about working smart, not necessarily like these long, because then you drag everybody else into it. Right. Coach, there's situations where people don't have good home lives, so they ain't trying to go home.
Right. Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
I've seen it where the coach is like, man, hey, can we work on the game 2 weeks from now, coach?
Why?
I
don't want to go home.
Right.
I've been able to watch that and talk to our players about it, and like you said, the coaches, and I've offered it to coach. Hey man, on the side, hey man, like I know you got this going on. If you need this, these guys would have like 12, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old kids, and they're going through stuff because dad ain't home, or dad's immersed in football as a coach. And it's just, and their developmental things that are going on at home, let alone relational things going on with their significant other, right? And it all adds pressure, right? And so the mental health piece goes to your point of performance. You can't perform, right? I've watched the best time for some youngsters, man, and coaches is when you travel.
Get away.
Get to the hotel, get a meal, and go to bed. And just kind of for a minute, like, you know what I mean? But So this game, this thing that we're doing in this space, and that's just not just for football. I want our listeners to really understand. This is not about. This is about any student athlete or any athlete in any sport. Mm-hmm. Because when you have to work and grind and sacrifice and put all the work in that these athletes do, something's got to give. And the only way that it gives in the right way is if you have a balanced approach to what you're doing. And so we, in this particular space, we are that source to help you balance things out. Mm-hmm. Because we have to have those crucial conversations, right? Mm-hmm. People have asked me, Lamont, what have you gotten out of, 30 plus years of being in sports with athletes, and to me, my three core values is effective communication, mm-hmm. trust. When I say effective communication now, I'm not talking about just communicating. We can do that.
Right.
Effective communication. Mm-hmm. And that means that's painful. Yes. At times.
Yes.
Right? That can be very painful at times. But I think effective communication, trust, and if you can effectively communicate with the people you're working with, especially the tough stuff, that trust begins to kind of like take form. Right. And the third thing is meaningful relationships. Not relationships, we got those. Right. Those meaningful ones, again, that word painful is about a meaningful relationship. So those three things, and I think, for me, I've tried, I'm not, the Phi Beta Kappa guy. Right. I try to keep it real simple, so that it's digestible and people can see it. The people you're working with can see it, right? Mm-hmm. Making that commitment to live my life a certain way. Right. I wasn't always this guy, right? Man, I was trying to mess it up too, right? So like we all do, right?
Right, no doubt.
We all go through trying to mess it up. God just pulls us out of it, right?
Absolutely.
Not just out the way of trouble, but I think those three things, man. I mean, and I think once the athletes, man, they know that you're trying to do those three things, man, and you're working on it. It gives. So whether you're a golfer, a volleyball player, softball player, basketball player, men, women, it really doesn't matter. Right. I tell athletes all the time, to me, there is gender, and then when you get to doing your sport, it's time to get down, and you'll compete with anybody, anywhere, at any time. And so and then you're a true athlete, and there are things that come with that, right? And so this is it's a wonderful space to be in, but it's been great for me and my family.
I'll move to this section or this question. So a lot of people, we're listening to, like, once again, these are player development professionals, maybe even ADs, head coaches. I'm going to put my money on it that you did this by yourself for a long time. So what would support look like for you in that role? And what advice could you give to those who may be looking to support their directors of player development, student athlete development, whatever it may be?
So when you say I want you to clarify. So you want me, what does support? Yes. When I started this, there was no number two, as we call them.
Right.
It's you, right? And like I said, you go through that locker room, you got your note. You dealing with everything for everybody. And the minute other people see that you're willing to do that, then they coming to you. Mm-hmm. So, but over time, I was able to, again, you got to go in front of your boss, you got to go in front of the head coach, you got to go in front of however your makeup is, a GM. Hey, you know what? Everybody in the building, I've said this, and it helped me. So this is something that, for you folks who are one-man bands, if you will, one-woman bands, if you will, understand this. Like, look, there's, however number in the NFL, there's 65, 68 guys with practice squad. Would you only have one strength and conditioning coach? There's 68 guys, but you only have one trainer. Mm-hmm. Right. So why would you not have multiple people, a staff to take care of 68 players with 68 different things going on.
Right.
Okay. That's a very easy conversation to have, right? But I will say this. It's understanding your space first.
Right.
You really need to understand your space. You really can't effectively go, again, that word, effectively communicate what you need for your players if you really haven't clarified your why.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you in this space? Right. And people I've heard, people like, oh my man, I would love to get in player development, man. It seems so good. You've heard it too. It's so cool. It's not as cool as you think.
It is not.
Right. It's not as fun as you think when you got a player that's got a major issue. Absolutely. And he will not allow you to help him help himself.
Right.
You see a train going down the track, getting ready to have a train wreck, and he won't let you stop him.
Right.
That ain't fun.
No.
And then when he crashes, guess what everybody comes to you and say? I know you've heard it. Hey, what's wrong with him?
How'd you let it
happen?
happen?
Why did he do that?
Yeah.
Why? What could you have done?
Yeah.
I mean, so I would say, player development professionals, even you directors, because directors want to become senior directors, and they want to become executive directors, and they want to become VPs. You really understand your why, and constantly ask yourself, is this why? Is this your career path for you? Mm-hmm. If you think you're gonna get rich, not gonna happen. Right. How about this one? They talk about that still at the NFL level, like value, your value. Mm-hmm. Right? Why are they paying this person over here, and you're the one working with the players, and they're paying you peanuts over here? Well, why don't they see my value? This is pro sports, folks. Yeah. Just the way it is. Like, there is no, especially in the league, there's no logic to it, no rhyme or reason. So, you have to be in this for all of those reasons. And then you can take that and articulate that to the powers that be to get you what you need from a support standpoint for your players. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. We'll move to the advice section. Thank you so much for just the game. I'm gonna go back and listen to this. I got so many notes to take. Overall, you've kind of touched on this. If you could touch on a little more, just overall advice for those in this role, and you kind of talked about it, your why, your value, and then advice for those looking to get into this role.
Again, what's your motives? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, what are your examine your, not just what are they, examine your motives. Because is it to be in the NFL? I've asked people, they ask them, I'm like, how did you get in? Well, you know what? Go do player development in high school. Mm-hmm. They have athletes there too. Right? Go to junior college. They got athletes there too. Mm-hmm. But why does everybody want to jump and right out and want to go right to the NFL? Right. They got Division III schools. Right. Right. So just go do the work, and it's thankless. I would say, don't look for credit, don't look for praise. Mm-hmm. Right. The other thing is, and I've learned this, don't look for thank yous. A player, if you dial in with your people, male and female, they will. Women, the ladies are more open, about communicating kind of that kind of feeling. But at the end of the day, they'll show you thank you, and men just have a hard time saying it. Right. So you have to see it, right? It hasn't changed. They want to show you that, hey, I did this for you.
See, I like what you say. I always see it as when the players, so if it's an older player, they got a freshman that walks in, and the older guy, oh, Ed Jones, he got you. Hey, he gonna take care of you, man. Exactly. That's my guy. And I take it. That's my thank you.
That's the thank you. That's the thank you, right? It's expect getting in this role, expect the challenges. Because when you're dealing with people, it's messy. I can say to Ed, a player, one thing, and I had a situation. I'll tell you what happened. Once. I had a player at the Chiefs, and and you know he was him and a player on the other side of the ball were just getting you know they were just having issues. Mm. You know, this young guy, one guy was young, the other guy was a vet, and you know, player kept coming to me, and he just really. I said, look, man, like all you gotta do is, you know, respectfully, you know, kind of talk to this vet, you know, that kind of thing. But then when you get on the grass, you know, because you're on the other side of the ball, that's when you do your thing.
Right.
Right. So this player decides one day that him and this, there was a scrimmage or some drill or whatever, 907 or something. They lock up. And this dude plays over. This guy goes to the vet and hits him from the back. Mm-hmm. Like sucker punch. Now it's on.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's on. So then they come to my office and I'm all hell and broke loose.
Right.
This player told the coach that I told him to go after this dude like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Excuse me?
Right? I mean, you're trying to diffuse situation. You're trying to give him some, and that's what happens. So, like I said, you know, you have to anticipate challenges and adversities and adversaries. There's some adversarial people that you know, just there are people that don't want to see other people be happy, right? And so, you know, to consider this role, patience. You want to be in this, you know, can you be consistent every day amongst your own personal stuff? All right. Can you put that aside for a minute and then Ed's issues become number one? Right. Can you do that over? And the other part of it is endurance, because it takes, as you well know, it takes time.
Yes.
All right. So if you're going to come in and you have all the training and you have all the things, and I've had so many directors and people who've come in the league and colleges, and they got all the books and they've done all this stuff and they're ready to come in and do their thing. And it's like, well, why they want to talk to me? Right. It takes time. Yeah. Right. Well, nobody cares about your degrees. Nobody cares about any of that stuff. It takes time. And so I would say that, and this is, you know, this has been kind of with me the last, you know, few years, man, is my transition. I've transitioned out of this in the league is, you know, be ready to say goodbye. Mm-hmm. Because people come and go in this business. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, what is it that you want them to remember about you? Right. And for me, it was the one trust. You can't operate, and that's one thing my brother and I, who for you listeners was the senior vice president for player affairs for the Atlanta Falcons for 15 years. He's been in the league for 25 years, 25 plus years himself. But you know, it's this trust piece. And the other thing was our last name. And so when you see players, and I'm sure you've seen guys that are out the game and all of a sudden they see you, they're like, hey, so-and-so telling their wife, and that's my coach, Ed, man, he was this, that, and that. That is why you do it. Right. Right. Because it's not about your career. And I would share that, say that again for listeners. That you get in this role, it's not about your career. Mm-hmm. It's not about you. You get in this job, it's about the people you serve. Mm-hmm. And if something great happens to you in terms of promotion, all good. Yeah. But if you come in this thing trying to promote you and trying to promote your stair step thing, right, you're going to find out really quick. You're going to open up an elevator door and step in without looking down and realize there ain't no floor in the thing. And you're going to go all the way back down to the bottom hard. Right. Right. And so, you know, it's funny because these same players that we love, sometimes they can be the same ones that can help get you out the door.
There's no doubt.
It's the truth.
There's no doubt.
It really is. You know what I mean? It just really, because you're dealing with people, and people are complicated, and people under stress and anxiety and unhappiness and lack of hope are just challenging, forever challenging people. But you have to endure. We in this space have to endure that. And I think that's, that's allowed me to go home at night. That's allowed me to have a healthy family life. I mean, it's keep things in perspective. We have Claire and I have two children. Our son, Cameron, is a leadership coach at the IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. He's impacting young lives. He grew up around it. Right. Our daughter is just graduating from college and University of San Diego. She's in California in that same kind of a space. So, but this has allowed me to be a better father, a better husband, a better friend. And, the fact that Ed Jones has asked me to be on this wonderful show, I'm doing something as a mentor, maybe, that, he would have me on and share me with your listeners. So, I'm an open book, always have been. As Mama always said, it's no fun if you can't share it. So
absolutely,
me having all this whatever knowledge people think I have or nuggets, right? It ain't gonna do me nothing at the end of the day. So imagine help somebody.
I appreciate you, like you said, as a mentor. You've been phenomenal. I remember you reached out and the email. I was like, oh my goodness. I'm looking at, because I know we're connected on LinkedIn, but you know how it is. You get busy, you don't get a chance to see everybody. And I've been thanking you for that, because you've been monumental for me in this space. Is my listeners know kind of where I'm at right now at the time of this recording. And just seeing it from the goodbye, the not permanent, but the goodbye that I've had. And it's been great to just be, to talk to you and continue to get built during this time. I'll move on for sake of time, because I don't want to take your time. I know you got things going on. So the question, you dropped so many practical nuggets in this thing. I don't even know where to go from there. Two questions I have for you before we go to the bonus round, which you do not know the questions of, and I'm excited to hear your answers to it. The first one would be, what's the best advice you ever received in life? And then the second one would be, you've taken so much care of people in this role, and I can imagine, I know what it's been like for me, so I can only imagine what it's been like for you. How have you taken care and developed yourself?
Okay. So what's the best advice I've received in my life? So listeners, I am 63 years old, and that's that's a big loaded question, right? Like but to me it's simple. At this stage, trust God and do good.
I like that.
Trust God, do good. So if it's hard times, if it's a hard day, it's a hard situation, if you're dealing with people that you really don't want to be nice to, right? That don't deserve it, you trust God, you do good. Because I'm modeling that for our players, the people that I touch. You have to expect things happen on a day-to-day basis, man. So you expect things going on, but if you ask me right now, I'm not trying to slight anybody that's been in my life, but I think right now, I've been poured into by so many folks, man. So many athletes have helped. They don't even know how much they've helped me.
Right.
But to sum it up, trust God, do good.
I love it. And then taking care of yourself. How have you done that over the years? How do you do that now? Because I know you pour so much in, you're in the role, you're mentoring people, and we'll kind of talk about the Winston Group towards the end of the show and what you're doing to help others. How do you take care of yourself?
It's quite. I say it's quite simple. It's simple in to say, but in theory, when you look at it, it's simple. When you go on an airplane, right? What's the first thing they tell you?
That you take care of yourself before you take.
They tell you put the mask on yourself first. Mm-hmm. Then you put it on somebody else to save them. So I have to always. I've taken that principle and I have to put the oxygen on me.
Mm-hmm.
I know all day, wake up in the morning, okay, all day, oxygen on me, mm-hmm. Right? Because I know as soon as I get in my car, the phone's gonna ring, and I got to take that oxygen and I got to put it on somebody else, right? And so I've really watching and helping players and people, and watching people not receive help. I mean, it's so many examples of why I take care of me first, right? Mm-hmm. I enjoy when I go home, even though I'm always on the clock. And you with players in this business, you are always on the clock.
Yes.
However, my wife and I, she knows, like, you know what, on weekends, you know, when I was like heavy into it and we're at home, I get in the yard, or I didn't want to drive my car. As long as I didn't have to drive my car, I was good. In my later, you know what I mean? Except going to like Home Depot or whatever. Right. But other than That, man, like I've kept myself in good shape. In 2016, I had knee replacement. And so I got into cycling. Mm-hmm. So I'm a cyclist, road cyclist. Nice. My wife is into it. So we go out, and we'll probably go tomorrow and do a 25-mile maybe ride. Wow. We get after it a little bit. So, you know, and I read. I take time before my feet hit the floor in the morning. I just ask God. I pray that something happened good to me and through me. Before I turn, before you turn, right. Oh yeah. Before my feet touch the floor, I'm saying that. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give him my time in the morning, regardless. And then when I do that, everything else comes. I'll get the strength from whatever from him, whatever I need to do. So that's how I keep me going and keep me healthy. Right. So it's a great quality of life for me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I got to get the nugget. I got to get one more practical nugget before we, it's not many times you can go to the well and get water. So we definitely want to get one more nugget, practical nugget you could have for people in this role in their daily responsibilities.
For those who know me, you got to laugh. I'm kind of halfway silly, cartoon. I mean, I'm a happy person, man. You have to laugh. Mm-hmm. Because when you're dealing with, when people are coming to you with the things that you have to deal with, and you think about in your career thus far, they're not funny.
No.
Right. And you see people suffering. Mm-hmm. Right. And so you have to be very careful that, that doesn't send you down this thought process, and it becomes, then it looks on your face. No, I'm happy. Dudes look to me like, oh, my man, like, I just told you this. Why are you doing? That's not that I'm taking it lighthearted. Right. But you know what? We can do this. Right. We can do it with a mad face, sad face. We can do it with, with a smile on our face, knowing that we're going to have victory. Right. And I just choose victory. And that's that gift, that choice that we have, that, I laugh, man. I think that's and people don't do that. I think in this day and age, and we saw it during coming out of the pandemic, now we're kind of transitioning. I mean, people aren't laughing.
Right. Absolutely. I have one. So now we're going to move into the rapid fire round. So these are questions that I'll ask you, just questions I like to hear. And some of them are, kind of educational, and some of them are fun. I'm excited to hear. So we'll start off. Number one, what are you reading right now? What book are you reading right
now? I kind of read parts of the Bible where I'm at now. Mm-hmm. And when I say read, I don't sit down and read for hours. I read in the morning. I don't have some people have that book. Right. I've kind of, yeah. I might listen to a podcast. I was loving listening to Steve Harvey. If you guys haven't listened to Steve Harvey, the motivational speaker, whole different level of dude. You might want to look at Les Brown.
Okay.
Phenomenal person, right? It's easier for me to just listen to them, whether it's 35 minutes on my bike, and I don't ride on my road bike, but on my cruiser bike, I'll listen to something, but at the gym or whatever. So I do it that way. You know, me and just reading hardback books, I might go to sleep at the first couple chapters. So,
I hear you.
no, that kind of stuff. Hearing Denzel, hearing Joel Osteen, those are my reads.
Gotcha. Yes, sir. So what daily discipline, you talked about cycling. Are there any other daily disciplines that you're working on you may have started here in the past year or so?
We live in Florida, down here in Ponte Vedra Beach, which is just east of Jacksonville, and so we're kind of by the water. So I make, when I go walk, there's days I got my walking days. For those days and my 5-mile days, I walk to the beach. My halfway point, turnaround point is the beach, and I make sure that whether it's in the morning or the middle of the day, man, like I go look at the Atlantic Ocean. And there's just something about seeing something that's been there since the beginning of time.
Wow.
And I get and I'm sitting here, right? So that's been a part of my day. I think becoming better, incorporating podcasts. We have a podcast that I do with Kendall Gammon, who's a 15-year NFL vet, called Beyond the Game. It's on the Kansas City Sports Network. If any of your listeners want to take a peek, we've had some fantastic guests in this player development space. It's all based, much like your show, it's based and rooted in player development. So I would encourage you to go there, but it's being more involved in that. And so that's kind of been my new thing, if you will.
Gotcha. All right. So in the city you live, someone gives you $25 for lunch. Where are you going?
Man, do I even get a taste? Well, the best sandwich is the sandwich spot down here called Sun Deli. All right, they got a sandwich called a Heart Attack that is just crazy. Now, but then I'm also I love cheeseburgers. Like, Valley Smoke, this place has a cheeseburger that costs actually $19.
Oh, wow.
So, but it's a combination of this tri-tip, these different kind of, it's phenomenal. So between that and maybe a beer, each of my $25.
Okay, so since you're a burger person, I'm gonna veer off a little bit. In Kansas City, where my wife is from, and where you spent a lot of time in your career, what's the best burger place you used to go to?
Ooh. Burger place. Probably mine, but that's just me. Let's do barbecue, right? So everybody, like Gates, all that. Arthur Brown, no. LC's barbecue.
Oh, wow.
LC's barbecue. I forgot what Eastwood Traffic Wear, something like that, but it's by the stadium. LC's barbecue is like for real.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try it out next time I go. LC.
Yeah, LC's barbecue.
I kind of went chain when I was there. I like Jack Stacks and Q39. I went chain, but I have to go.
Like I still buy Jack Stack seasonings. Jack Stack is cool. Q39, I got hip to that one with the Raiders that we would go back and play. That's new. That's actually sitting on that what Q39 is right there out there in Overland Park is where Hayward's barbecue was. Mr. Hayward, Hayward Spears, give you a little history. Hayward Spears owned that whole block.
Wow.
Years ago. He used to work for General Motors, and at night, and he would bring in barbecue, right? People was like, man, you ought to be opening up a restaurant. Like, yeah, but so anyway, they convinced him to do it. He opened up a restaurant out there in Overland Park when there was nothing but pasture.
Right.
And so he had Hayward's barbecue. His daughter, Greta, is married to Kevin Moore, and Kevin is the commissioner of the Big 12 Conference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So where Q39 is,
Uh-huh.
Hayward, and then all these businesses, the gas stations,
Oh yeah, all that right there.
all
Oh, yeah.
that, they was renting from him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
good come up right
yeah.
there. That's a
But
great
I
come.
will tell you this, Kansas City's got a lot of different barbecues, but every time we used to go get LCs when we would bring free agents in or rookies.
Okay. So I got to put that on.
And we had gates. We did gates because
Uh-huh.
we had new gates.
Oh yeah, you got to do gates. Oh yeah.
But at least at LC, they don't holler at you. At gates, they
So
holler at you.
I told people about that. My first time ever going into visiting my wife. Never been to Kansas City. I'm from Houston, so I'm trying to hear barbecue. Barbecue's good in Houston, so you hear about KC all the time. So I walk in the gates, and I literally walk in. I'm looking at the menu. What do you want? I was like, oh, and I'm like, ma'am, do you want potato salad? I'm like, ma'am, I just got in here.
You're looking up there, and the tagline is, "Hi, may I help you?" And they scream it at you, right. And you're sitting here like, then you feel panicked out. There's a line of people.
Right. It was the weirdest thing because I'm like you said, she's telling, how do you help me, sir? How can I help you? And I'm like, the person behind me looking at me, I'm like, I've never been in here. So you almost want to walk outside, take a deep breath, and then come back. So yeah. So all right. So same place. So where you live, where would you go with $125 for dinner?
Oh, I've forgotten some of these. There was a man. My kids would be teasing me now. There was a Japanese restaurant that they did taipan, on the grill out there. We would go there. Tony Bridgerton and I used to go there with his family when he came in town. Tony played for us for a long time. Great player, great person. We would go there. $125 out south, I would go there and get down.
Okay. If you could join a band or music group, past or present, which one would it be?
Oh, well, if it was a past band, dude, if I'm in my genre, it'd be Parliament Funkadelic, no doubt. No, I'd be knee deep, right? I don't know. I'd probably have one dreadlock, whatever coming off my head. But then I'm also a jazz enthusiast, so I would want to be part of Jeff Lorber Fusion Band. So listen, if you don't know who Jeff Lorber is, get with Jeff Lorber and the older stuff. Yeah.
Jeff Lorber. Okay, I'm definitely gonna listen to that.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go to movies. If you could co-star in a movie with any star, who would you co-star in a movie with? Action and comedy.
Oh man. Oh, I'm so bad with names. What's the young lady? I'm so bad with names. I forget. Denzel would be a cool dude. I think Lawrence Fishburne is cool. Would be a good person to be in a movie with. I kind of like Liam Neeson, Halle Berry, right? I forget the young lady's name, but she played in one of the Iron Man movies. Tony Stark's girlfriend. I forget her name. But
I forget her name too.
Yeah, but I like the dude that plays Tony Stark. I mean, I would love to be in a Marvel. I'm a Marvel geek, and I'm not comic. I'm talking like a real Thor, Silver Surfer. Like that's Lamonte's thing.
I got you. Sport you wish you played growing up.
It's interesting, man. I had an opportunity to play all of it. I think stepping out of where I came from in Oakland, I just wish I'd have just got involved in golf. And now I live here, and golf is part of what I'm learning to do. That's part of my new thing, taking golf lessons and all that good stuff. So, but I wish I would have, and I'm on a board of the Moore Myers Children's Fund here in Jacksonville, Florida, a golf-based group for kids of challenged kids financially. And so I'm watching them practice. I'm watching them get lessons. We're opening up lives, endorse these kids. I wish I'd have played golf.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the last question on this show, thank you so much for being here. How can we support you? You tell us a little bit of how we can follow you, and if you could talk a little bit about the Winston Group and the work that you all are doing.
Well, what we've, the Winston Group was brought on, in this business, there are going to be divorces. Mm-hmm. So you got divorced from the Chiefs, you get divorced from the Raiders, right? You got divorced from Baylor. This is part of it, right? Yeah. But I've always been committed to this space. And so the Winston Group is a sports consulting business. And what we do is we will work with one-on-one with athletes. We work one-on-one with teams, whether it be college or high school or professional. We work with colleges in helping them, for all you player development directors. I'll be able to come in and help you shape your program. Mm-hmm. They help you have those conversations that you need to have, mm-hmm. get the support that you need. We'll help you shape your programs. And so that's that teacher model. I think that's the most effective. We'll do presentations, but I'm not a big, I like to do multi-touches with folks. Mm-hmm. So if I go to the University of wherever, I can go in and visit with you one time. I prefer to come back and let your athletes know I'll be back.
Right.
There's something about, when you're coming back that makes you feel at home. And so, that we're still growing it, mm-hmm. It's the need is there. Opportunity, spread the word. You can go to the winstongroup.biz is our website. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can find us on Twitter. Mm-hmm. All those good things that you're supposed to have. My executive assistant Hope manages all of that. Mm-hmm. But we're out there, and again, for all you folks that are in college, if you want someone to come in and just really visit with your group of athletes, I think that you'd find us quite interesting because of the experience and the results that we get and the trust that we have amongst coaches and people within this industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the pod and kicking off season 2. You all, this is a pioneer in the player development, player engagement game. And thank you so much for just what you poured into me and everyone listening. Y'all have a great
one. Thank you for having us. Listeners, please be gentle with the emojis. But if I can help you, if I can be of help, if there's a need to call, you can reach me. And I'm always available. I'll always pick up or answer your email. We start that way. But my email address is lamontewinston@gmail.com.
Awesome.
lamontewinston@gmail.com, and go to the winstongroup.biz. And again, Ed, I'm looking. I expect greater things for you that's coming up here.
I appreciate it.
You are a true talent in this business. And again, I'm sure your listeners were very proud of you, like I was, to be at the Coaches Association meetings, Coaches Convention, presenting this space in front of a group of 100 plus coaches. And so I know you represent as well. So best to you and your family, and thank you for your willingness to hang out with me on a Friday.
Absolutely. Y'all heard it. Y'all have a good one. Learn, go out and create generational impact. Don't wait, create generational impact today. Thank y'all.